Now I'd like to turn it over to the Amherst Town Supervisor, who's been a tremendous friend to the Amherst Chamber of Commerce. Supervisor Kulpa, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, it's no coincidence that the Chamber took out our strategic plan at the same time the town of Amherst was taking on our economic development plan. And of course, AJ's team has been tremendous advocates and partners during this process, the year-long process. We have, as a town of Amherst, celebrated our relationship with our chamber, celebrated our relationship with our businesses. Very excited to be able to be back here in person. It's been 3 years since we've been in person for this event. So a lot of you were here in 2020 last time we did it live in person, and you still came. And do you know that you can't just hit mute and turn your screen off today, right? The reality of the scenario is, when we prepare for a state of address, right, there seems to be this gravity towards it. People start to ask, is this the biggest thing you do all year? Is this your biggest event all year? And everybody has a state of it. Mark has a state of the county address. There's a state of the town of Chickawaga address, a state of the town of Tonawanda address. And in states of, right, preparing those, you're trying to sum up a year and project forward a year, and you start to think about what goes into all things in your community. This is my 11th state of address, if you count that, when I was in Williamsville. 11 straight times we've prepared something that had this sort of situation. I'll tell you, it's interesting because it's my 16th year in office, which makes it really weird when I try to tell my kids' friends, parents, that I'm not a career politician. Kids roll their eyes. But the reality is, we're very excited. My staff, everybody has put a lot of time and effort into helping me prepare for this. Their dream, I think, is that I would have a PowerPoint done 5 days ahead of the presentation. I wouldn't stop and pause using the word like I do, and that somehow I would have cut out all Lord of the Rings references. And 1 out of 3 isn't bad. It's a step, it's some progress in 5 years. I had the opportunity this year to meet one of my true heroes of local government, Mayor Michael Bloomberg, and interact with him. And he told me and gave us advice. And the advice he gave was, look, you need someone who can tell you don't do it. That's a dumb idea. And when you decide you're going to do it anyways, that person needs to be able to A, take away your phone so you can't do it, or B, begin putting countermeasures in place to offset your stubborn stupidity. And while there's a number of people in my office who might rise to that level, Linda, Jess, Emily, and Marty, one person for the past 5 years has really been able to put in countermeasures to offset my stubborn stupidity, and that's Joe McMahon. Joe McMahon's my chief of staff. Many of you know him if you've interacted with my office, but he flies under the radar a little bit. He's been a tremendous asset to everything in the town for 5 years' time. I'm trying not to make eye contact with Mark while I talk about bringing Joe on board, but the reality is when Joe joined me and we put together a team, that's the moment that the town took off. So Joe, thank you. Tested the mic, now it's time to test the town of Amherst. So I start off all my presentations with the same slide. Everybody's seen something along the slide, right? Town of Amherst is, it's Erie County's largest town. Right? It's the second largest population after the city of Buffalo. But the reality is, if you think about Amherst a little differently, it's actually upstate's largest town. It's the 4th largest population in upstate. It's bigger than the city of Albany. We almost caught Syracuse in this last census. And it's a lot, right? It's a huge community. It's got a lot of inertia and a lot of economic energy. It carries a lot of responsibility in the region. And as a town board, we have, I think, tried to rise to that occasion. I'd like to thank my town board members that are able to join us here today. We have a great team. We work really well together. And we are taking on the challenges that come with the 6% population growth in 10 years. And looking forward to say, okay, what are the challenges that we're going to be approaching? Today we can celebrate some heroes in the town. I'm going to start off with a hero that emerged in the town, and that's Jalen Law. Jalen's here today. Thank you. Jalen prepared a mural on the side of our police training center on Bailey that celebrates heroes, not just heroes as first responders, but celebrates what the future of our first responder heroes is. The biggest asset in the town of Amherst, right, our kids and our children. And Jalen, thank you for doing an amazing job of helping us celebrate first responders and our children. Just a round of applause for Jalen. This current generation of first responders gave us probably one of the most epic reasons to celebrate their efforts, and had dedicated themselves over the past few weeks like nobody else in our community. And while everybody, I'm sure, wants me to start off with images of a blizzard, I felt like I owed a responsibility just to remind everybody what those first responders had to go through. I was gonna just use a white slide and say, but continuously for 48 hours, our first responders went into zero visibility and into no man's land, 54 square miles of the town of Amherst to rescue over 300 people that we know of, to house 125 people, to deal with emergencies that we couldn't even imagine, right? When you're rescuing EMTs out of an ambulance, when you're rescuing your own forces out of police vehicles, when you're trying to combat Mother Nature and trying to survive, but then trying to help people, the police, the fire, our emergency services officers really did an amazing job in 2023. Or 2022 at the end of 2022 and over the holidays, sacrificing their own holidays and asking their families to sacrifice their time with them. And when we emerged from those 48 hours, what we were left with is an unbelievable cleanup job and an unbelievable set of circumstances. This town looked like a post-apocalyptic future, and I can't thank them enough. Would you join me around? That heroism, right? We weren't alone. Amherst needed help, and so we saw these other names start to show up at our fire halls and places like Friendship and Bolivar, and these heroes came to our aid, and that's extremely humbling as a leader of the community to be able to see other places and the sacrifice of other heroes. We did it, we got through it, we cleaned up from it, we celebrated at the end what I think is a very, very good victory. At the end of the day, the town of Amherst, we know we had 3 deaths due to delayed EMS response, and that's terrible. But think of how many lives were saved, and that's really what we want to focus on. That's what I've asked people to focus on in Amherst. Amherst has a long tradition of interaction, a long tradition of support, a long tradition of building off of the backs of our first responders and celebrating their 100th year this year as the Amherst Police Department, who've done an amazing job in this community. And equipping our police department with the best tools, the best possible scenarios. That's the job of us as elected officials. This year, we're committing to an over $3 million project. I'd like to thank Deputy Supervisor Buckeye for helping me kind of put this through the final paces to make sure this was the best decision. But the police did a really wonderful job of saying, okay, we're going to switch to a cloud server. We're going to invest in new dash cams in all of our police vehicles, new body cams, replace our antiquated technology with new technology, and thanks in large part to a federal grant made possible by Congressman Higgins, we're going to build the communications tower in the north end of town. That's going to solve the communications gap. We hope that might also be able to help the cellular service up there. But Congressman Higgins, thank you so much for providing us with the community's expanded so fast that we actually have cellular gaps, right? That's an interesting issue, but when you think about it, it also comes with police and fire communications gaps, and that's something that we couldn't live with anymore. We need to close. Our police have done a great job of adopting and holding to our police reform plan. Community policing efforts are through the roof. I can't thank the people involved in that enough. We're forming new bonds and creating new opportunities for people to interact with our police department throughout our community. That's going to make our police better. It's going to make our community's acceptance of our police better, and it's going to help us continue to have our police interact and celebrate the diversity of the town of Amherst. So I thank you to the police for implementing that wonderful project. And touching, the cultural changes through the community, dealing with an expansion in the community, we also have to expand our youth services. And I don't know if there's anybody here from Sweet Home Schools, but past Superintendent Tony Day, current Superintendent Mike Ginestri, all of the school board, Sweet Home, we owe them a round of applause because they helped us open, they're helping us open a new community center, after school childcare program in the sort of northwest corner of the town of Amherst. It's actually going into the old North Point office park in the old Paychecks building. We see this as an opportunity to partner with Zeffel Development to bring new life into that center, to offer childcare program inside of a workforce area so that we can hopefully unlock some opportunities for people to re-enter the workforce who might otherwise have childcare responsibilities that would preclude them. So thank you to Sweet Home Central Schools for participating and as a wonderful partner in this endeavor. That project's in construction. They have an aggressive construction deadline. We need to be in there and open in September of 23. That's where we're heading. And again, thank you to the Sweet Home Central Schools. Our community centers in our community center expansion are just limited to that project. This year we'll also be opening a new youth wing and a new community room inside of our Audubon library. It's the second heaviest used library in the entire Erie County system. And while a lot of people have participated in this, Assemblywoman, and I'd like to thank Senator Ryan, who even though he had yet to have Amherst in this district, reached out and helped us when we were worried that we were going to bump up against a grant deadline because of expiring grants and the delays caused by COVID. Senator, thank you for helping us get this project done. We're looking forward to celebrating that opening within a month. And a lot of projects are made possible through alternative funding mechanisms. The UBMD Orthopedic Center is actually the project that is kicking off a pilot that has created the Northwest Community Center and seen our reinvestment in youth sports throughout the area. But it's something else. It's also a bridge into our medical spine project. And our medical spine is, of course, one of our biggest items on our plate in 2023, expansion of this idea of an Amherst medical spine. We know we have specialties in specialty dental, orthopedics, neurologics, and while we see 170,000 square foot orthopedic ambulatory center opening at UBMD, we also are going to be celebrating Roswell Park coming online. And Dr. Johnson, thank you for being here today, for your support of the Amherst community. Dr. Johnson's not alone. One of their board members, Linda Dobmeyer, is a great friend of our administration and a supporter of the medical spine endeavor right from the start. And Linda, thank you also for joining us today. Excelsior Orthopedics is expanding surgery suites and expanding its services. We're trying to meet last year's commanding governor's 2022 state of the state, where she asked to see healthcare expansion and expansion in the healthcare workforce. So we've done studies and plans. It's in our economic study. It's going to be a big emphasis this year as we move forward with that medical spine. I mentioned Linda Dobmeyer. Linda and I had really kind of got to know each other by way of Bill Wadlin, past town councilman, and a good friend of mine who encouraged me to look at the business world, understand how government can be more nimble, and encouraged me to take on some challenges to enrich my understanding of how government and the business world interact. He also was a fan of Michael Bloomberg's time in office, and that drove me to actually to engage and apply for Bloomberg's 40 mayors challenge this year. It's 40 mayors from across the world who were chosen to participate. Top supervisor is mayor. Executive officers of municipalities throughout the United States and throughout the world coming together to learn from the Bloomberg philanthropies and Harvard School. We completed our year-long participation this past month. I was really excited to be there. It was a little nerve-wracking to get mayors from Sarajevo and Kigali, Rwanda, and I wonder, what am I going to have to comment with them? Am I going to be talking to them and say, hey, do you have your yard waste pickup issues like I do? The reality was, it was a tremendous learning opportunity, and ironically, the kickoff day that they had started was the same day as Bill's funeral, and I miss Bill Wadlin dearly. It's good to be able to work with past council members here in Amherst to learn. But I also have a group of people who have an understanding of local government that I've been able to look up to over the years, who are now in positions that are leading the way in New York State. Governor Hochul is no stranger to municipalities in upstate. She, I believe, has a message that is going to help us grow and help us focus, especially needs of housing. I'm taking that quote directly out of her message, such as redeveloping old malls. So we'll get to that in a minute. The governor's made it clear we need housing of all kinds, but we need affordable. We in Amherst have taken on a lot of challenges. We have partnered with DHCR, one of the largest DHCR investments, or State Department of Housing investments in upstate New York's history, with the completion of the Amherst, Princeton, Oxford apartment renovations with the related companies and MJ Peterson. I don't know if anybody from those companies here, but it's put a new face on Edwardsville and a new investment in people's lives where we need it most. And that Edwardsville community is really just a third of the overall South Campus community. We started this program, COVID interrupted it a little bit, but the town is going to be stepping back into a leadership role to ensure that the South Campus community, the South Campus and its surroundings, get the attention that is needed and deserved. It's a complicated issue because it's Buffalo, Town of Tonawanda, Town of Amherst, and Fat Town of Chickawaga all coming together. And it's an area that's been planned by nobody. Now we're leading an effort to put together plans to create continuity in streetscape, continuity in zoning and land use, and hopefully enriching that area. To turn it into the urban campus and the urban campus surrounds that so many other communities have seen. It's time that we benefit from the location of that campus, just like other places have. And in terms of the mall and in terms of the housing, I can say Amherst is going to rise to meet that challenge. We're accepting the governor's challenge here. We've been in this Boulevard Mall, sort of project for 5 years. It's taken a lot of different turns. And it became obvious that in order to move this mall forward, we were going to need to use an urban renewal set of tools that state legislatures have in place for a long time. But there's always a little bit of hesitancy. And when I looked at our development corporation and our internal capacity, I said, we're not in a position to prepare RFPs to move land to and from the private sector, to put together the types of land configurations that we need. And it was early last year that I got to meet Commissioner Knight for the first time. She actually came to our office and spent some time with us and said, Supervisor, look at the Greater Jamaica Development Corporation. I think we're going to find some similarity. After a year of discussion with Justin and their CEO in that group, we're partnering with Greater Jamaica directly through contract to help us to enrich our LDC. We work with Jamal, Douglas Development, and Henderson, willing partners in this exercise. We're going to create a community in the future. We're going to create opportunities for growth, for affordable housing, for student housing, for luxury housing, a true blend of economy and a true blend of use. So thank you, Commissioner Knight, for propelling us forward. The mall is, of course, a major asset to the town of Amherst in terms of location. We need to make sure it stays, or that it is an asset and not a liability. And when we need to use town resources to rectify liabilities, this town stepped forward and is doing that. This spring, we'll do a ribbon cutting and we'll start holding markets at the corner of Niagara Falls Boulevard. And if you drive over there now, you'll see a lot of plant materials in the ground. You'll see shade structures. You'll see the concrete works repaired. We're adding benches and we're going to add street furniture and bus shelters to that long blighted parcel and turn it into an anchor and a corner that we can celebrate as a community. We're not just going to stop there. When we look up the boulevard, we see opportunities for change. Plans for Willow Ridge community at Ellicott Creek. We've already started lighting projects throughout the town to upgrade our street lights, turn them into LED, create energy savings, take parcels that were left over from a bygone era and turn them into something that this community can celebrate. This is Ellicott Creek near the county's dog park. Think about ways we can inspire reuse with new housing, transform our streets to make them more crossable or accessible, turn places like Main Street and Snyder, which are overserved with lanes, work towards making streets and healthy streets. I got one applause. Everybody else everybody else is like, oh, please don't break the light sequence and make it anybody driving east into Williamsville, plan an extra half hour every 3 this month. But the reality is, we transform places through streetscape and character, but we also do it through the way we deal with stormwater and water infrastructure. We've seen Delwood Statler coming online as a huge green infrastructure project. Westwood's next. We're starting and continuing to build out biofiltration across the entire south end of the town of Amherst, because we know that we need to take the pollutants out of stormwater. We need to control stormwater and stop it from entering our sewer system. The best way to do that is through green technology and using our existing floodways better. One example of that is a project that is near and dear to my heart, near and dear to Common Board's heart. And within a month or a month and a half, we're going to be closing on Westwood. The town officially own it, and it will officially become a town park. That's something that we're going to celebrate. 170-acre Central Park right at the heart of the town of Amherst, right at the footstep of UV. A center for culture, for arts, place for entertainment, place for community spirit, place to help nature revive and thrive. And to start it off, we're going to be building out a winter market. I'd like to thank Legislator Ryan, who's not here today, on the executive poll cards. The county has made the first $2.4 million commitment in the form of a grant to help us engineer and build out space for community market, community celebration. Thank you, County Executive. Not to be outdone, luckily, Assemblywoman Karen McMahon and Assembly Speaker Heastie this year awarded the town $1 million to build out an inclusive playground, ice ribbon, and splash pad. Fully inclusive and fully immersive. Thank you, Assemblywoman, and thank you to Assembly Speaker Heastie. The investments from the town and state showed extreme confidence in the town of Amherst. They were able to make those contributions in spite of us not yet owning the property, and that's really an amazing compliment. The town is moving forward, and the town is moving forward. We have a new website which we've worked out through participation with our IDA, to engage the business world, to be able to help small businesses grow. I refer you to amherstleads.com to look at that website. Thank you, Dave and Joy and Amherst IDA, for supporting us on that. Somebody told me, wow, when you guys take flight, you really soar in Amherst. And I said, yeah, when we take flight, our wings are a hurricane. And with that,